Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
I will now move to item number E, election of the 2023 Transportation Committee Vice Chair. Councilmember Lewis has served as Vice Chair of this committee through 2022. I've asked him to remain as Vice Chair for 2023, so I will move to nominate Councilmember Lewis as Vice Chair of the committee. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Councilmember Antonio Lewis is now Vice Chair of Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis, for serving again. Item F, as is the case with all of our city council committees, we tend to pull together goals for the committee for the year. I will ask my colleagues to be on the lookout for an email from Mr. Johnson, who will share last year's goals and where we are with them, and then we can add to them, subtract to them, and approve them at our next council meeting, next committee meeting, sorry. Any concerns with that? Good, rock and roll. We'll now turn to public comment. Mr. Johnson, do you have any comment today?
Mr. Chair, we have one speaker, Mr. Wilbur Fitzgerald.
Please come to the mic, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Just have a few comments. I know there's have a 2-hour time limit here to speak.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
You know, one man's 3 minutes is another man's few hours.
Okay,
so
good.
Rock and roll.
So I'm a native Atlantan, and very happy now to be living in the very vibrant Old Fourth Ward. Been there about 15 years. And what a place that's become with the Beltline. What a success. I'm part of a group of 350 families in the Old Fourth Ward that is in opposition to the expansion of the streetcar, which is scheduled to take place sometime in the next, I think, year or so, start construction according to MARTA. I think they're at the 30% planning phase, which means their route is locked in at this point, according to one of the meetings we had with them recently. We believe that the extension of the streetcar will pretty much decimate our established historical neighborhoods, both with the construction and with what takes place when the streetcar is operating. We think that the streetcar certainly is one of those out-of-date modes of transportation, and the way I look at it is sort of like a theme park ride. At least that was my observation down on Edgewood. Very slow-moving. We just don't need any more congestion in that area, which this will certainly cause. If you've been over there recently and on a nice day, you see how much activity we have on the Beltline, how much car congestion, how much wonderful pedestrian congestion we have. We don't really think that this will in any way benefit our existing transportation system, and certainly not benefit our neighborhood. We know that streetcars in this day and time are typically proposed to spur economic development. That's certainly one thing we don't need any more of in our area in the Old Fourth Ward. It's all good, but we certainly don't need anything. There's certainly more underutilized, underdeveloped areas that could possibly benefit from this. We know this streetcar is dangerous to bikers, pedestrians, etc. So the opposition seems to be growing with the families along Randolph Street, Auburn Avenue, and up Edgewood. So I just wanted to register this official sort of opposition this morning, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. We don't do back and forth during public comment, but I appreciate you coming down. Depending on where you live in the Old Fourth Ward, I likely represent you. I've met with a number of residents who are like-minded to you. Happy to talk with you as well, but appreciate you coming down today.
Good. Thank you very much.
We will now turn to, that's it for public comment, to our section on presentation and reports. Before we hear from ATL DOT on the Kingsdale Road Complete Street Update, I do want to acknowledge the transition in the leadership of ATL DOT. Interim Commissioner Anderson Bomar is handing the baton to Commissioner Cavanis. We have both of them here today. I want to welcome them both to the podium. Commissioner Cavanis, if you'd like to just introduce yourself to the committee. I know many of us have met with you one-on-one, and we'll get to know you very well. But welcome back to Atlanta, and excited for your leadership of the department. The floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, hump day. I understand that by way of formality, I need to introduce myself. Solomon Cavanis. I am a native Atlantan, spent 21 years in the Northeast, and happily returned to Atlanta with my young family, 2 girls, and grandparents near the airport. So I'm very happy to be here, excited. I've met with some of you. Look forward to those I have not met with yet. Excited to be working with such a team. Marcia has been amazing. I consider her the second commissioner to the city, considering the job she's done with staff and the department. So excited about this opportunity, and look forward to working with you.
And what high school did you go to?
What high school? So I went to North Clayton High School, which is in the College Park region. I will say it's been nice just to be back in the area, you know, and there's so many connections that I've found in the city with my roots. So looking forward to future together.
We look forward to working with you. Any comments or questions from my colleagues before we move to the item agenda of the day? Mr. Lewis.
When you say North Clayton, we know that's not Atlanta. But growing up, I played at South Atlanta High School basketball, and North Clayton was one of our rivals. I still remember hitting the game winner one game playing against y'all, but y'all also put us out the playoffs the same year. And so North Clayton was a pretty good rival.
Terrific. I'm glad.
Welcome to the city. I'm one of the ones you haven't met yet. Can't wait to meet you.
I look forward to it.
Welcome to living in Atlanta this time, though. Welcome to Atlanta.
Right on, and I don't know if I have time to respond.
Please.
But we won state championship in 1993. I'm sure you're aware of. And and I will say that your school was one of our favorite rivals. So if that means anything, I look forward to talking about that shot in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm glad we're off on a friendly foot, and look forward to future chest thumping about high school basketball exploits. But welcome, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Commissioner Anderson Bomar, would you like to take the lead on the Kingsdale Road Complete Street Update?
Absolutely, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Marcia Anderson Bomar. I think we've come up with the title of Commissioner Emeritus. We didn't know what to call me, so we thought that might work for a little while. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the update on the Cascade Road project. Very, very important project for Southwest Atlanta. For those of you who travel through the area, there's always that excitement and that, oh my goodness, construction has really started. So the utilities are out there working feverishly to get all the utility relocates done. There are a lot of utilities out there. There are 11 different companies that have utilities to move. 2 of the companies are done. We have 9 to go, and then of course we have Watershed Management that is working with us truly on a daily basis, because that road is so old that the records were not the best. So as we open parts of the street up, there's always a surprise. So we're out there strategizing the best ways to deal with the issues that come up to keep the project on schedule and moving forward. There are 2 segments. There's the western segment that starts at Kingsland and runs to Willis Mill Road, and then the other segment is from Deloe to Avon. As the utility work is completed, the complete streets construction, the actual installation of the sidewalks, the bicycle lane, the new bus stop locations, all of that will begin. The work is happening as quickly as possible. We anticipate that the utility work will be done by the end of this calendar year. And we had a meeting back in November with the community. We promised that we would come every 6 months, so we're in the process of looking for a date. We'll work with the community to find a mutually convenient date to have our next meeting probably in the late April timeframe after spring break, so that they're well informed. We know that when construction happens, sometimes the road is rough. The neighbors are keeping us informed because we're trying to keep the site as clean and as safe and easy to travel as possible. But it is now a full-time construction zone, so we hope everybody will be patient with us as that construction happens, and that we work together to make this a really successful project. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Councilmember Overstreet, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, both commissioners. And I know I've expressed this to you, but I want to make sure that everyone knows that I do appreciate you transitioning and not just running with the baton out the door. You really are handing it over and holding it as you transition, and I appreciate that because of projects like this. And this was a different angle than I thought we were going to take with Cascade Road, but after sitting down and speaking with you all, I understand that the timeline is not going to be affected, not the end date.
Correct.
And that the entire phase 1 will be completed before we move on to phase 2.
That is correct.
So those were important, and then we talked about how the utilities were going to be done, completely done at the Deloe Avon area, 6 months before the larger portion, the
That is
Kingsdale.
correct.
And that as soon as that utility is done in the west side, you're going to get started on construction there too. So I appreciate you taking the time for that. I actually signed up for the updates, and I received one on yesterday with exactly what you spoke of today. I am encouraging everyone to sign up for those updates because they really are detailed. Like, they are listing exactly which companies are still doing their utility movement now, which ones are finished, which ones are teed up. And everyone likes our domino tracker. They really do. That's important.
Also, if I may, I also want to add, there are some amazing people in your community. There are members of your community who are not digitally connected, and so we've had folks volunteer to be kind of team captains. And so when we send out these updates, they actually print out copies and hand deliver them to the neighbors who don't have digital access. So I think that speaks a lot to the cohesiveness of the community and the seeds that you've sown in terms of the community staying engaged and
Right.
informed. So I
And
really
that's what
appreciate that.
That 6-month check-in is about. Like, I'm committed to doing that every 6 months until it's
Absolutely.
complete. And so what my office can do then is actually print up a batch and pass them out so they don't have to use their printers for that.
That would be great.
Yeah, I don't
But
mind doing that at
some
all.
of the local businesses have said they're happy to keep copies there. When
Yes.
folks come in, they check in to see if they've gotten a copy of the
Okay,
information.
then we'll get that going too. But, thank you so much for bringing this presentation today, because it was important that we, kept everything on the record and everyone on the same page. And that it's really important that Commissioner Cavanis knows
Absolutely.
how important this project is. Like, we have got to get this done, and it's got to be absolutely beautiful at the same time.
It
So
will-
thank
And
you.
it will be. And I do plan to invite myself back for the ribbon cutting. So,
Great.
just saying.
Great, great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, I just went to Landglide because I know Kingsdale Drive, but I didn't know Kingsdale Road, and I can't find it. I cannot find it on the GIS. Kingsdale Road as opposed to Kingsdale Drive.
Got it. Well, we just.
Okay, Kingsdale Drive goes, it's a semicircle.
Right.
And it's right off of Cascade?
Right.
It's Drive, okay.
we'll
Just,
correct that.
I
you.
thought I could remember. Thank you.
So let the record show, today's presentation was about Kingsdale Drive, not
Drive,
Kingsdale
thank you.
Road. Yeah.
My mistake, my mistake.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I do want to apologize to the committee. I have a flight to catch. I have a transportation conference to attend, so I'm going to quietly slip out, but you're in good hands with the rest of the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move to legislative items, I do want to recognize in a gesture of municipal cross-jurisdictional cooperation, Councilmember Joe Karn of College Park. Many of you may know, and I'm sure the airport will speak to the fact that there was an FAA ground stoppage this morning due to some technological glitch for pilot communications. I know College Park sits right adjacent to the airport and was likely affected this morning. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how things are going in College Park? I was with your mayor this morning, and she was, her blood pressure looks a lot lower than yours was. So the floor is yours, Councilmember Karn. Welcome to City Hall.
Thank you, Councilman. Hello, council members. I think I know most of you all. Most of you all know me. Joe Karn, College Park City Council. I've been serving since '05. Served as Vice Mayor 3 years and Fulton County Commissioner from 2019 till January of 21. Yes, so we woke up pretty worried this morning, and I put in a call to one of your council members, and it just so happens you were having your Transportation Committee meeting. I was in the vicinity, so I said I would definitely come down to see what was going on, and we're back up flying, obviously, so we're glad to hear about that, but very frightening. And one thing I'll mention that I talked about as a commissioner, if you go back to Metro Atlanta of 1985, for instance, I was in high school, we really worry about, everyone's so dependent on computerized systems, software, and automation that if something really would have happened, I'm looking into this year where every department has a paper version of operations, i.e. Metro Atlanta 1985. We were able to operate then, and I want us to figure out a way that we could operate somehow if in the event of, where you're online and everything goes out in terms of computerized systems. We did it by paper at one point or another. There's some departments that have to know how to do it by paper in the event that something happens. So just something to think about, FYI. We're thinking about it, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Karn. You're always welcome to join us here. We're thrilled to see you here this morning. Appreciate you making the effort to come down. Councilmember Lewis.
And I want to say, Councilmember Karn, I appreciate you for sending that text and that call this morning. And I appreciate the airport, Anita Williams and Mike Smith for being so responsive and before 9 a.m. calling me back so I can get a response to Councilmember Karn. Appreciate you, for Councilmember Faruqi, for allowing Councilmember Karn to announce itself and to talk about some of the issues. Thank you.
All right, let's get into the legislative meat of our meeting. Mr. Johnson, can you lead us through ordinances for first read?
Item number 1, 23-0-1044, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept grant funding from the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Georgia Department of Transportation to amend the fiscal year 2023 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations for a preliminary engineering and scoping study for the intersection of Moreland Avenue and DeKalb Avenue in the amount of $240,000.00, to enter into agreements with the Atlanta Regional Commission and Georgia Department of Transportation to allocate funds for the local match of $60,000.00 from the Atlanta Department of Transportation budget and for other purposes. Item number 2, 23-0-1045, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2023 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations the 2021 LMIG grant amount of $4,032,979.50 on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. Item number 3, 30-1046, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2023 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations the 2022 LMIG grant amount of $4,477,269.76 on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. Item number 4, 23O-1047, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the fiscal year 2023 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund budget, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, 2019A non-AMT GARBs, 2019C PFC non-AMT Bond Fund, 2019D PFC AMT Bond Fund, 2022A non-AMT GARBs, 2022B AMT GARBs, 2022C PFC non-AMT Bond Fund, and 2022D PFC AMT Bond Fund budgets by transferring to and from appropriations a total amount of $56,105,921.00 for reimbursement of the Airport Renewal and Extension Fund and the 2022B AMT GARBs and for other purposes. Item number 5, 23O-1048, an ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2023 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $60,171,217.00 to provide funding for various projects at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Thank you. Let's now move to ordinances for second read.
Section J, ordinance for second reading. Item number 6, 22O-1897, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to abandon portions of a public street known as Stewart Avenue consisting of approximately 0.125 acres lying and being in land lot 108 of the 14th District of Fulton County, Georgia, being more specifically described in attached Exhibit A to Candy Coated Entertainment Incorporated, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a quitclaim deed for such abandoned right-of-way and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item to be held for a public hearing.
A motion to hold by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote on the motion to hold item number 6.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Mr. Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items number 7 and 8 together as a block?
Please do.
These are for the installation of all-way stops. Item number 7, 23R3001, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor or his designee to make an all-way stop at the intersection of Ralph McGill Boulevard and Fortune Street Northeast to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 8, 23R3003, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Deering Road Northwest and Haskell Road Northwest an all-way stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install an all-way stop at the intersection of Deering Road Northwest and Haskell Road Northwest and for other purposes.
Move to approve. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Mr. Chair, can we take items number 9 and 10 together as a block? These are for the installation of traffic calming devices.
Please do.
Item number 9, 23R3004, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Northcliffe Drive Northwest between Howell Mill Road Northwest and Brookview Drive Northwest and for other purposes. Item number 10, 23R3006, a resolution by Council members Andrea L. Boone and Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Braemar Avenue Southwest and for other purposes.
Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is for the Department of Transportation. I'm going to continue the line of conversation that I raised at the last full council meeting, since they are traffic calming devices. You know, I think just to refresh your memory, everybody's memory, I'm supportive of these. I think it's important that the council members and the district council members have the opportunity to work with communities to identify opportunities for these devices, and then consult with their department in terms of the appropriateness of them. But what I do want to caution, and I'll be keeping my eye on this again, I fully expect that there should be, from the department, a strategy and a plan in terms of implementation across the city. This should not be a race to funding. This should not be a race to get to the front of the line and put as many in our districts queued up for city funding. Or if that's the case, then let's just be honest about it and not say there's no funding, and then some district council members find district money, only to find out later that, yeah, there was another bucket of money we could have done. So I'm going to be supportive of this, but I will just tell y'all, every time these come up, I'm going to raise the issue again so that when we see contracts for the next contract for installation, I'm hoping that at that point, it'll be very clear that the department has come up with an overall approach and kind of an equitable distribution of installation across the city. So I'll move to approve both items, but with that comment.
Motion by Juan, second by Overstreet. Before we vote, I do want to ask, do you know, Mr. Smith, how much in the ATL DOT budget in this current fiscal year was set aside for street calming devices?
1 million.
1 million?
Yeah, for FY23.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that, if I recall correctly, that number was set internally by the department as part of the budget proposal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think this is, as I mentioned during the meeting, that the challenge here is the demand for these is higher than the line item that's set aside in the DOT budget. And so as we move into the next fiscal year budgeting cycle, I think the writing is on the wall that we need more funds for this, because right now we're seeing a run on the cash every year, right? And council members just throw these pieces of legislation down. And it's great because we're making our streets safer, slowing traffic. But I think as we get into the FEC role here, we should look at expanding that pot of money. Yeah. Councilor Norwood.
Yes, I just want to point out for the audience as well as for my colleagues and everyone, we did get discretionary funding in T-SPLOST and bond. And so we have 1.5 million in horizontal and 1.5 million in vertical. And I am planning to use some of my money for the traffic plan that I have so desperately needed for an entire year. And I am planning to use some of my money for these traffic calming devices where the city is not picking them up. So I do think that there's a way that we can look at what are our most urgent needs in each of our districts. And this is a pot of money that we can then get to you. The reason for bringing it up right now is that means that scheduling will not only be scheduling what the company has said they would do and then what individual council members have said they would pay for, but also looking at all of us ramping up, getting the money from our discretionary funds, and then where is that in the schedule of operations to go out?
Understood.
Thank you. Please open the vote. We had a motion by Juan, second by Overstreet.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 11, 23R3062, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a right-of-way mowing and maintenance agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for mowing and maintenance services at the Cascade Avenue and Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, State Route 139 intersection as shown in Exhibit A, attached hereto and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Good morning again, council members. Alan Smith, Interim Deputy Commissioner for ATL DOT, TIM Division. This legislation would allow City of Atlanta to enter into an agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation to maintain the installed infrastructure located within the Cascade Avenue and Ralph David Abernathy intersection project. This project involves implementation of raised pavement markers, stripe markings, and plastic flexible delineator posts to improve the safety of pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
Thank you. So my colleagues from the affected district want to make a motion to approve? Councilmember Overstreet.
This is actually Dozier, but it is right next to me, so move approval.
Right. Motion by Overstreet, second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 12, 23R3063, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor's designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a reimbursable agreement with Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company for the reimbursement by the city to AATC of certain costs incurred by AATC for the design and construction of an administrative office expansion and related projects at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport up to an amount not to exceed $6 million to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Michael Smith, Deputy General Manager, Department of Aviation. This paper will allow us to enter into an agreement with AATC to allow them to expand their office and administrative spaces. AATC provides the operation and maintenance of the terminal facilities. They're created by the airlines, and essentially the $6 million will be paid back to the airport by the airlines over a 5-year period.
Great. Motion to approve? Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 13, 23R3064, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for IFB DOA 2207-12300027 airfield repairs 2021 through 2023 at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Matthews Kelly Joint Venture on behalf of the Department of Aviation, an amount not to exceed $24,016,516.31. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item needs to be amended to attach the IPRO report.
Great. Motion to amend by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote on the motion to amend, and then we'll hear from Mr. Smith.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
I got kicked off, but yay. Sign it back on now.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chairman and committee, the airport maintains over 40 million square feet of structural pavement, and this will allow us to conduct our repairs and our replacement of concrete in the airport operations areas. Our city had 3 bids for this project. This is the lowest bid. It will have EBO goals of 25% MBE and 10% FBE. There's a commitment from the construction company Matthews Kelly to provide 25% MBE and 10% FBE. So I'll move for approval on that one.
Councilmember Juan.
I see our procurement officer in here. I'm looking at the IPRO report, and there's something that caught my eye in terms of something about a member of the procurement team receiving some confidential information. I'd like to get a little, to the extent that you're able to, just making sure that that's mitigated, not of concern, and that measures are being taken to prevent that from happening again.
Jadeep Majumdar, Chief Procurement Officer for City of Atlanta. This particular incident was from a contract specialist. She had used a personal computer to work on some files over the holidays. And, when we dived into all the details, there was no data that was compromised. It was just that she made a poor judgment on that piece, and she has been advised of that. And from a department perspective, we'll make sure that we reinforce the message that no outside devices have to be used for City of Atlanta.
Great. Thank you for that explanation.
Councilmember Amos.
Take a very quick question, 2 questions really. This is a joint venture. First question is, has this joint venture held this particular contract before? And then have either one of the partners in this joint venture has been involved in the projects that we'll be correcting the deficiencies in?
I would say no, since this is a new contract. The 2 companies have engaged in joint ventures before for some of the airport projects, but again, this is an ongoing repair and replacement project at the airport. So yearly, the airport conducts an assessment of all of the structural pavements, and as we move along, we'll identify maybe replacement in the taxiway areas or in the runway shoulder areas. So this is a new contract, and so they aren't repairing anything that they previously had done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Is there a motion on the floor? Move to approve by Juan, second by Overstreet. Please open the vote on item 13 as amended.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 14, 23R3065, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Development Authority of Clayton County to purchase parcels in Clayton County, Georgia for the purpose of carrying out road improvements near the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
This paper will allow us to convey property to the Clayton County Development Authority to allow for them to engage in the widening of the Gilbert Road property. Back in the 1970s, late 70s, the city acquired certain properties, almost 80 acres, in the old Mountain View area for noise purposes. We continue to hold these parcels. This widening will allow them to develop certain properties in the area. It amounts to a sale of about 4.34 acres. Will still remain the remaining properties, and the property is being conveyed at fair market value.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 15, 23R3066, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor's designee to exercise the second renewal term option for FC 10421, Public Safety Systems Operation and Maintenance Services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with the Dean All PSS LLC on behalf of the Department of Aviation for a term of 1 year effective March 5th, 2023 through March 4th, 2024, and the amount not to exceed $2,359,970.0. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the funding numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
This is one of our important, of course, security aspect contracts. MC Dean and all PSS maintain our CCTV cameras and also our AED systems throughout the airport. This was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals, and this is the final renewal for this contract.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 16, 23R3067, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into agreements with the Transportation Security Administration to provide reimbursable security screening services at the fixed base operation facilities on the north side of the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
The city, the airport entered into an agreement with Signature back a couple of years ago to provide the fixed base operating services at the north part of the airport. Also, they're providing what we call elite services through a sublease, which you approved last year with private suites. Essentially, we're providing equipment, and TSA will provide operating and security screening services at that location. The reimbursement is essentially a pass-through. We'll enter into the agreement with TSA. TSA will then bill us, and we will require the money, resume the money from Signature and private suites for these operations.
Thank you. I'll move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 17, 3079, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a cooperative purchasing agreement. Number is listed, DOA CAD implementation, solution hardware licensing, services and technical support with Motorola Solutions Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Aviation, Information Services pursuant to Section 2-1602 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances utilizing State of Minnesota's source well contract. Number is listed for a base term of 5 years to be paid annually after the initial solution implementation, an amount not to exceed $1,798,675.00 for the first year payment upon completion of implementation. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the funding numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
This will provide the software and hardware for our Emergency Operations Center and our dispatching. So as you know, we operate a 911 system essentially at the airport and provide for dispatching of medical and police services. This gives us almost, I would say, a redundant system to the city system when it comes to providing those services. So we'll ask for renewal, approval of this contract.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, we have 3 items coming off held.
And one's an aviation paper and 2 are personal papers. Let's go to number 30, and then I want to ask Mr. Smith a question unrelated to the legislation.
Number 30 requires to bring forth a substitute. The substitute changes the caption.
Motion to bring forward the substitute by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you. The substitute extends the month-to-month term from 10 months to 22 months. This takes us to item 30. Item number 30, 22-01784, a substitute ordinance by Transportation Committee, an ordinance authorizing the mayor as designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to revise the lease agreement with the United States of America Department of Homeland Security, Transportation Security Administration for the lease of city-owned space at 1075 Airport Loop Road to execute documents to formally acknowledge the city as landlord under lease as of February 1st, 2022, and extend the lease on a month-to-month basis for a period not to exceed 22 months, retroactively effective March 1st, 2022, through no later than December 31st, 2023, to ratify the lease of the premises from March 1st, 2022, through the execution date of the agreement authorized herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Last year, the general manager presented a paper regarding 1075. We reacquired this building back a couple of years ago from the Icon Group, and we had 2 tenants. One was C.H. Robinson and the other was TSA. We recently approved the agreement to extend the lease with C.H. Robinson through December of 23, and we're doing the same here with TSA. They've asked to remain in that building through the remainder of this year.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute.
Okay, before we move on to those final 2 items, Mr. Smith, since you're up here, can you speak to unrelated legislation? Can you speak to the incident on January 6th where a gentleman scaled the fence at the airport and commandeered a Delta vehicle, then got onto a Southwest Airlines flight, and talk about how it happened and how it's not going to happen again?
Well, I can say that the matter is still under investigation, and it's a matter being looked at by the police department. But from my understanding, the individual was able to scale one of the fences at the north area and was seen by employees of Delta and Southwest. Per our protocol, they are to follow the individual and to contact the police department, which they did. The individual was followed the entire time. throughout that incident and was eventually apprehended by the police department. We continue to investigate exactly how the individual was able to obtain access to the airfield and to, again, see that the incident doesn't occur again. But as you know, airports such as Atlanta, we've had previous incidents where somebody's been able to scale a fence or gain access, whether it be over the concertina wire, et cetera. But we continue to have our protocols in place and have always had those individuals under constant surveillance.
And it's my understanding the gentleman climbed a fence to enter the property. All of our fences have razor wire,
They
concertina wire.
have razor wire and concertina wire, et cetera.
And I presume that this meets also FAA guidelines.
Yes, those
and
fences do exactly exceed FAA or TSA requirements. They are over 8 feet in height, and we've also added that concertina wire above that. But individuals with perhaps mental or under the influence sometimes still gain access.
And is our fence line monitored by camera, or some of it, not all of it? What's the-
Some of it is monitored, and again, we have roving patrols by both police as well as our security.
And when do you expect the investigation to be complete?
I can't give you an exact time frame. It is being currently reviewed, and I expect we should be able to give you an update at the next meeting.
I think the committee would like a full report once the investigation is complete. Any other questions from colleagues? All right, thank you. Okay, we can proceed with 2 other items that are coming off of held today, or proposed to come off of held.
This takes us to item number 31. This item needs to be substituted. Substitute changes the caption.
Motion to bring forward the substitute by Juan, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Substitute brought before you. The substitute just corrects the dollar amount in the legislation. Item number 31, 22-0-1879, an ordinance by Councilmember Alex Juan and substituted by Transportation Committee, an ordinance to allow a sidewalk waiver issued by the Director of the Office of Zoning and Development per section 16-06.011, subsection 6 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for applications listed herein, 772 Piedmont Way Northeast, to provide that in lieu thereof constructing the required sidewalks at the name waiver site between 929 and 961 Cumberland Road Northeast. The application is listed shall pay $9,572.19 into the District 6 Sidewalk Fund and for other purposes.
Councilmember Juan, do you want to? Motion to approve on substitute by Juan, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Item is favorable on substitute. This takes us to our last item on the agenda, item number 33. It requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption.
Motion to bring forward the substitute by Juan, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you. The substitute adds the dollar amount, the sidewalk waiver memo, and also the account information. Item number 33, 22-0-1892, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, as substituted by Transportation Committee, an ordinance to allow a sidewalk waiver payment in the amount of $50,023.94 to be deposited into the District 12 Sidewalk Trust Fund for SD 21-7, 130 Hilltop Drive, and for other purposes.
Motion by Lewis, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute. And Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
Thank you, as always, Mr. Johnson, and thank you to the committee. That brings us to the end of our agenda today. Any comments from the body before we close out? And barring none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.